The Dallas Mavericks advanced to the NBA Finals by defeating the Minnesota Timberwolves 124 to 103 in Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. This marks the third time in their franchise history that they have appeared into the finals. The last time they had a finals appearance was in 2011. In 2011, obviously, they won their first and only title in franchise history. So it had been 13 years since the last time they went to the finals. It felt like it was only yesterday, to be honest. I remember that finals really well. It was, I would say, probably one of the biggest black marks in LeBron James' career, and obviously the pinnacle of Dirk's career. That's what I remember the most about that finals. It was interesting the effect it had on both their legacies. So that's one thing I'll always remember. But going to this game, the thing that really stood out to me was at the start how Luka was just guns blazing. He was determined to make up for his terrible shooting in Game 4. I think he must have hit his first 6 or 7 shots, and I believe he had like 20 points in that first quarter. Just he was on fire. Just there's nothing that the Timberwolves could do about it. He was destroying them, getting whatever he wanted. He definitely established himself from the beginning and sent them a message that he was going to send them home for the summer. Give Luka credit for bouncing back from the last game. That's what superstars do. They just assert their will on you, and they destroy you when it really matters. He did all that in this game. To me, this game was really lost in the first quarter. I felt that it looked like it was going to be a close game at first when the Timberwolves tied the game 18-18, but the Dallas Mavericks went on a run after that. I felt once the Mavericks went up 24-18, that's when their Coach Finch, should have taken a timeout. I thought that was the time to do it. I just could feel that the game was slipping away right when the Mavericks went up 24-18, but instead he didn't do anything. He didn't call a timeout until they were down, I believe, 30-18. So the Mavericks finished that first quarter going on a ridiculous 17-1 run to be up 35-19 at the end of that quarter. They never looked back after that. Just they never did. They dominated that game from that point forward, and there was no question or no doubt that they wouldn't win this game. That really stood out to me. They put the chokehold on the Timberwolves during that final stretch in that first quarter. Now, I would say a few things about the Wolves. Their defense in this game was atrocious. For a team that had the best defense in the league this year, it certainly didn't look like it in this game. The Mavericks shot 54.8% overall from the field and 44.1% from three. Those are ridiculously high numbers. You're not going to be a team when they shoot that well. That was one thing that stood out to me. I know if people look at the box scores, they're going to see Cat had 28 points, 12 rebounds, 9 of 20 shooting, and think like, he had a good game. But I didn't feel like he did have a good game. I think plus minus tells the real truth, which has him at negative 14. He was terrible at the start of this game, and pretty much for most of that third quarter, I believe he was terrible. And then he just picked it up a notch. But by then, it didn't matter. They were down by like over 30 points. He started playing aggressive and going to the hole and getting layups and getting easy baskets, which I thought was a little too late to be doing that. He should have done that at the start of the game. But that's the biggest problem with Cat, and I feel with a lot of these jump shooting big men that they can't stop shooting jumpers. They don't know when to post up inside and score the easy buckets. I just think it causes a lot of issues for them, and it's hard for them to find that balance. Cat, I feel, is going to be like that guy that never finds that balance in his career of when he needs to just start dominating inside and just basically just say fuck the jump shot and decide to assert himself. I don't know if he's ever going to be able to do it. I doubt it. I think that's going to be his Achilles heel, that teams, not just like the Mavericks, but other teams in the future are just going to dare him to be strictly a jump shooter, which doesn't really hurt opposing teams. I know I'm old school, but I feel to be an effective big, you really got to punish them inside and get the easiest buckets because that's your biggest advantage. There's no point of being 7 feet tall if you're just going to get into a 3-point shooting contest with the other team. Just it doesn't really give you as big of an advantage as you would think it would. you're also bailing out the defense, because when you're scoring inside as a big, it forces them to double and triple team you. That leads to guys getting easy baskets on your teams. That's how I feel about it. Now, Anthony Edwards, he wasn't really that good in this game either. I know people are going to look at the box score and say 28 points, 10 of 18 shooting, but his defense was not good in this game. It was terrible. He had his moments where his three ball was falling. I think in the third quarter, he must have hit 3 or 4 in a row, just chucking them up. But his defense was really atrocious, something he's going to have to get better at, to be honest. One thing I would say is that he's not good at guarding prolific scorers. Even the Nuggets series with Murray being banged up, there were moments where Murray was healthy enough to go off, and he did go off in a few games where he had enough looseness, I felt, with his injury that he could move. He had good mobility. That's when he would torch Anthony Edwards. But that was really hidden in the sense because the Nuggets lost that series. That's something that he'll have to get better at, I feel. He'll have to figure it out next year, how to improve defensively when guarding these elite scorers like a Kyrie or a Doncic. That, to me, is the biggest thing. But the Wolves' defense got carved up by the Mavericks. Also, Kyrie is going to be overshadowed by Luka's great game, but Kyrie was amazing too. He was awesome in this game. He had 36 points on 14 of 27 shooting. I think he was equally as good in this game as Luka was. They both had 36 points apiece. Very similar numbers. Both were super efficient. They're definitely the best scoring backcourt currently in today's NBA. I know there's a debate on whether or not they're the best in history. Only time will tell. Obviously, they got to win a title to be in that conversation, but they're definitely the best in the current NBA. That's one thing for sure. Going forward, the series with the Celtics will be very interesting. I think it's going to be very entertaining to see how both these teams adjust. I think it'll be a very close series. I haven't made a prediction yet, but in a few days I will put out a video on who I think is going to win that series. This is all I have to say about this.